Hey yo, it's motherfucking. Should I? Oh, whatever.
Nice
Great
intro, bro.
start. Great start. Hey yo, it's motherfucking Boss Merrill, voice shot on the mic, and of course, I got the one, the only Magic Card team captain. I have Carlos Fontenot here with me, and of
Hello.
course, from the Big Apple, we got
From the
we got Loker here as well. The
Yep.
two studious boys in the lab cooking up all the analysis for this season, season 6 of King's Court, are here to introduce the power rankings for Wave Pool here that they have sat down and discussed over many hours. So, without ado, gentlemen, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, so going into this team, something we noticed this season compared to last season, for whatever reason, teams are kind of a little bit weaker overall, which was a little weird because I would have thought they got stronger with the new Terra captains. But
yeah.
these are just going to be the power rankings where we think every team lands after week 1. So no changes are being taken into consideration if you're making them week 2. But also not only the strength of team, but also how the team performed and how you played in week 1. So that was also slightly weighed when making these rankings. So just something to keep.
Yep. We'll be starting at the bottom and working our way up.
Yes, sir. So without further ado, let's just get right into our very first team. We have at number 12 the Dragonite Destroyers. The local Rain team took some recommendations, so a lot of steps in the right direction. I do think picking up Drill here was a bit of a mistake, though. Cinderace was a really great speed tier for this team, and honestly,
It's a way better Pokemon.
yeah, it just doesn't work well with Archaladon here. I think just way worse Pokemon overall too. So I don't hate it, but I think Cinderace in the slot was way better. At the end of the day, this is a Rain team, and so you are trying to end the game fast. And to that end, Terabasky Legion is a great Terra captain. Like,
Yeah.
a fantastic Rain partner. And the secondary Terra captain's pretty good too. So
And Mesprit's a great, like, if Basculesion's not good one week, Mesprit's a good secondary Terra.
yeah, absolutely. The Rain pieces are here. I think this is good. The team definitely gets a lot better with Cinderace on it, I think. As far as week 1, a little bit of a rough start getting O2'd. You know, the bell rings.
The bell has rung.
Dong.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not far
There's
from
potential
over.
on this roster, though. We
Yeah,
pick up
yeah.
Cinderace and we like play to our strengths, and we could be looking at some
Yeah.
wins, I think.
This team could be
And
back.
it's not super far off.
I have faith that 8th can pull through. I honestly have faith. I think they can do it. Honestly,
Yeah.
Like you guys mentioned, the changes will make the team a lot better. So smiling
Yeah,
down.
the team is way better than it was before the first changes. I just think Excadrill, not only they're not good together, the two Dukes, and also Excadrill is just a terrible Pokemon. without-
Excadrill's there because they needed a spinner, and Abe looked at the board and said, "Fuck it, you."
Yeah, yeah. I think I would prefer to just take Court Change and be like probably worse as a designated spinner than just have Cinderace for the speed tier on my team.
Yeah, I mean, this Court Change dedicated removal is not good, but I mean, if you're gonna do it like on a Rain team, maybe it's acceptable because you're trying to end the game.
You're playing
in-
fast
in
anyway,
15
right? So how
turns
much do you
anyways.
actually care about
Yeah.
the hazard damage if you're just killing everything in 10, 15
to
turns?
to that end, would you guys actually recommend a different ground types at a Mudsdale?
No,
Simply for like,
I-
The problem
I
is
think the
there's-
good ones are gone.
Yeah, there's just nothing up. Like,
I think
looking at the
Metzel's the best
board,
fit
once
for
the
this
premier
team, for
ones are
sure.
gone, you're gonna get a flawed one no matter what. And in the point slot, you're not gonna get much better than it, especially when we need to find points to make Cinderace work.
Yeah.
that's true. That's
Moving
true.
on to our
Right.
next team, coming in at number 11, we have Moppy's Monsters, spearheaded by Dragapult. I think what most of us would consider the number 1 Pokemon in the draft. So
I would,
yeah,
despite its
I
performance
don't think I
being
would've.
middling, I think it is clearly the best Pokemon in the format as far as just raw power.
yeah, and also I know you're really big on this Chi-Yu Pokemon, right?
Yeah, I have kind of become a Chi-Yu lover. I was not high on it before the draft, but moving down to the Duke spot, I think, has been really good. I think Sunscorched in the other league and Splash has been had a very good showing with it, and I think on this team, it's actually pretty good with Dragonite, or not with Dragonite, with Dragapult. I think the rest of the squad just doesn't pull together. I think this is probably the poorest constructed team of all of them in this league. I think, just as far as like the team working together as a cohesive unit.
Yeah,
the defensive core is weak. That's a big thing. We're weak. We're double weak to electric in our defensive core, which is kind of weird. Our offensive Pokemon are all super fast, but we're kind of like too fast and too slow on the back end because we're in this weird speed tier spot where we can like afford to take extra bulk in our medium. If you're against someone who has medium speed guys, they can afford to take extra bulk and just give up the speed to the super fast guys and always have bulk in every matchup. And it's too exploitable, I think, for a team to work on top of all the weaknesses being stacked.
It's especially hard with this team, I think, where outside of Chi-Yu and maybe Sneasler in some matchups, it's going to be hard to like find some breaking power and finish off Mons, because again, you really need to be when you have like so many glass cannons like this, you really need to be finding those KOs. It's really just Sneasler and Chi-Yu. I mean, Dragapult doesn't have like you said, Dragapult doesn't have the power to punch through in a lot of matchups. When there's such a big gap in your speed tiers, you're gonna have every like Mon you go against is gonna be adamant or modest, and there's gonna be so much more bulk, like you said. Yeah,
not only is it hitting harder, but you're also like dealing like 20% less damage to every move you click, just because they're not forced. They'll just give up the speed advantage and play for the bulk, which makes your breaker's job even harder.
Something I wanted to add here as well, just looking at the team. You guys mentioned the top half obviously being really fast and the bottom half being really slow, but it not just in terms of like actual speed, but the actual like tempo of how the team wants to play. It's very all over the place because pickers want to play hard, fast, and then the back end of the team is, like you guys mentioned, is really slow, and they want to play a little bit more passive and like get things set up, have utility with the Khazards and status like spreading around and stuff like that, and they're just not. It's just rubbing against each other.
Yeah, they're like it's like two halves of a team that neither one is working together, and that's a theme I think we see across a lot of the lower teams in both leagues. Lower ranked teams is that we're not just the teams don't feel like they cohesively work together, and the roles are not being matched correctly. So there is potential. I mean, any Dragapult team can be built to win. I think there are pieces here that are decent. I think Chi-Yu Dragapult is a good two piece. We just gotta build a better team around it. It's worth mentioning too, we have Decidueye Hisui on this team with Terra. I don't know if that was because we couldn't fit points on a different Terra or this is like intentional, but I'm convinced that Pokemon is terrible with or without Terra. But surely there's got to be something better out there.
Yeah, it's
not
the
100%,
greatest,
but
I mean, sometimes it just slots in as a low tier. But again, not the biggest fan of that Mon.
Yep.
Coming up next at number 10, we have Germany's Genstones. For what it's worth, I do think there's something here. This is a pretty great Palafin core. I think he's supported really well by Zarude and Gyapdos, both being very great grass switch-ins, and all three of those guys pivot into each other fantastically.
I have a big question though.
What
is Tyranitar doing on this team?
Yeah.
I can tell you actually, he's eating points
he's eating
for
so
breakfast,
many
lunch,
points.
and dinner. He is just devouring our points to the point where we can't even have a second Terra Captain to fit on this team.
Yeah, the Mon is so expensive for honestly a big detriment. He adds so many weaknesses and almost no benefits, to be honest with you. I think we already have a solid ground type for our dark type for our G-King. In our Zarude, T-Tar does not need to follow that up.
Yeah, big recommendation for this team would just be, and I mean, if you really want to use T-Tar, maybe some other pieces can move, but our general recommendation for this is going to be dropping the T-Tar, and that just gives us more points that we can probably fit another Terra Captain on here, because as far as an Amorous is a decent Terra Captain, but it's not so good that you're comfortable giving away the information that you're going to be Terra and Amorous every single week with no other option. It's either not coming or you don't have a Terra. So in our system, it just doesn't work to have one Terra. Way too predictable, and T-Tar is just eating too many points.
Yeah, this team would really love Terra Gyapdos if it could afford it. Again, that T-Tar slot eating up some points. I think you could also afford to shave off some points with these grass types. You gotta get rid of at least one of them. I mean, there's just too much overlap here.
I would vote Toedscruel needs to go over the other two, because at least Mo is bringing Electric Stab and Levitate for what it's worth for our two. We already have two ground immunes, but we do have 2 ground weaks in our top like 3 picks. So if we want to keep, I mean, honestly, I could say both of them could probably go, but we're gonna keep one. I'd vote. Obviously, you're keeping Zarude. I would vote for Rotom-Mow and drop the Toad Scroll. There's no reason to have it.
I think the team would shape up a lot better with that in mind. Number 9 coming in hot, the one and only Midwest Mudsdale. I think that's
we're moving
what
up to our C tier here. So this is our
Yeah.
first C tier team on this list, and I think it's carried. I mean, I asked you because you have it all the way up at 5. So I asked you when we were talking about these teams what you thought the best thing was, and you said mostly just because Thundurus is just a shiest Terra Captain, and it is.
Yeah, Thundurus is so hard to switch into with the hazard support of this squad. That's like
so many hazards on this squad
so many hazards
from every angle.
You can tell pretty easily that that's like the main goal of this team, right? And for what it's worth, it does get hazards up often and easily, and probably repeatable, like multiple times a game. But like,
yeah, the problem is Defog is also repeatable into this team,
Yeah.
or I mean, we can't spend
There's
all
so
the
many
time because
chances
Annihilate
to
will be there,
defog,
but
like-
if we're against a defogger, we're defogging permanently. And I have another big problem. I mean, what are we doing with these like bottom, like Comfey and Avalugg just
yeah,
are not able to exist on the same team together. I don't understand why we're Comfey with no Terra or Avalugg with no Terra, because like Terra has to go on one of the two of them. And I would argue that Comfey would give this team some much needed priority, which it already does, I guess, but it would also have the flexibility of being able to be ground type or steel or whatever it needs to switch into in order to win matchups. Because this team does have my defensive core that I have on my team with Clodsire and Skarmory, but with low amounts of priority and not a ton of punishing, I think this team actually uses that defensive core way less. So that's my thoughts on why I put it all the way down at 10th. Also, where's our Monarch? Like,
yeah.
I understand
we have
that
points to spare
Moth is a
with this team.
strong Pokemon, but surely there's a way that we can move some points around where we can fit like. I don't remember exactly what Monarchs are up. I think D-Speed is up. There's a few like Monarchs up that could really
D-Speed
bring either some speed
Would
tiers to our
absolutely
team.
help the speed tier for this team.
Yeah, speed tier help or something. I mean, our system is put in such a way that you really have to know that Moth is worth a Monarch spot, and it has never been a Monarch in our league, and I don't think that it's good enough to be a Monarch in our league. So I think that something should probably move around here on the top end as well. Although I am a big Moth fan, I just don't think it's worth that Monarch tag.
For what it's worth, Annihilate was a Monarch previously, but we moved down to Duke for a reason. So there is that.
I feel like it's pretty clearly showed that it's not good enough to be a Monarch. It was a Monarch. What was that? 2 seasons ago now? I think it wasn't a Monarch last season.
Yeah.
last
2 or
season
3.
was.
I think that this is the first season it's moved down. I think.
Oh, it
Yeah,
is the
it
first
is.
season. So maybe there is. I mean, I've never been big on Annihilate. But I don't think the Mon was ever worth the Monarch spot either. But maybe it is good enough. I don't know. But I just feel like
It's there to punish the defogs that you guys were talking about. Like, he'll get +2
Yeah.
off of the line and
yeah,
stuff like
that's
that.
the counterplay to defog. Yeah, you switch in
Yeah.
that guy, he gets the defog off, and then we're cooking with the +2. And
That's the
ghost
idea,
typing.
right? But
Yeah.
I mean, like if you ever like get it like one turn wrong with this team, and there's a lot of chances to like
Yeah.
to
when we're
abuse
playing
this
Claude
defensive
and
core.
Skarmory, it's one wrong move and then we're on the back foot, and it's really hard to get our momentum
It's
back
so
on
hard
this
to
team.
claw back with such passive walls.
Yeah.
So,
Also, something else I did want to mention was that sorry, my voice is shot. Samurott is like often an early game Mon that you see like go down. Like its purpose is obviously like hazards up, get a bit of chip, and then kind of just like fall off to the wayside. We're pretty psychic weak after that. Like there's
Oh yeah, we are
Skarmory-
for what it's
there's
worth. Yeah.
Skarmory, but like it's not obviously very specially defensive, and most psychic attacks that are coming out, especially strong ones, are special. So after that, the team kind of just falls apart to psychic types.
yeah, any
So I definitely
complementary
recommend getting another
coverage.
dark type.
Yeah,
for
it,
sure.
it could go a long way. These
we don't-
something needs
also
to
don't have
change
a
about
ghost
these
resist
low
either.
tiers for sure.
Like after Samurott goes down, we don't have a ghost resist either, right? So
That's another
yeah.
exploit. Yeah.
There's some good ideas here. Something kind of needs to
yeah,
change. in
I think this is the
execution.
first team that we've seen so far to me that really feels like it does have a
It-
game
it
plan
is
that can succeed,
cohesive.
even if it's narrow. Like there,
Even if-
it's cohesive enough.
It's flawed, but it is cohesive, and there's ideas.
Yeah.
Here. Moving
Yeah.
on to Morgrum's Raw.
There's a
Almost-
lot of
yeah.
discrepancy between this team. This was the most this is the biggest discrepancy we've seen so far between the four people that we had
Yeah,
on
wow. Do you want to talk briefly about this team? Because you're higher on it than us, from what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. So, I mean, I think the Terra captains are shice. Like, that's just first and foremost.
You're a big Necrozma guy, right? Neither of us are as big of Necrozma guys, but I know
It is
you
pretty
are.
good here, though. I'm a fan of it on this team.
I think the cards was shice. I mean, obviously, Prism Armor is like a big contributing factor to that. Being able to tear into, any of the 3 typings that you choose, and then getting super effective hits reduced on that is really, really useful. It can do also like pretty much whatever you want, but on this team, it looks like it's mainly going to be a setup sweeper. Well, actually, it has to be a setup sweeper on this team. Looking at
sure.
things. But me personally, my philosophy though is that with the Necrozma being such like a good Terra captain, you really want to Terra it like every week. So having Terra Pecharunt is like nice, but I'd honestly rather have it on something else like Florges, where it's like more of a like secondary Terra captain and not like a main Terra captain, because Pecharunt would fall into the main category, which obviously is still very good, but
yeah,
I feel like you can just free up some points there, maybe look to pick up something better, like a better spinner other than Hitmonchan.
Yeah, that's
Dude,
my.
Does anyone have? Let me see if I can pull it up, because I want to know. I wonder how many points Terra Pecharunt is compared to something like. So Terra Pecharunt is 15, so it's 2-point premium on that, and Terra Florges is. Where is Florges? Is 3 points. So Florges is actually more expensive. I was gonna say I actually disagree with that point. I think that Pecharunt is a decent secondary Terra captain. I think you probably don't want it as your primary Terra captain. And with it only being 2 points, I think it's fine here.
Yeah, it's pretty chill.
Problems come more from its lower tiers. Like I would say Jolteon has absolutely 0 point being on this team. It's just what is it doing? It's not terrible. So, and you wouldn't want to tear it anyway, because Necrozma wants to tear every game, so you wouldn't want it anyway. So what is that guy doing there? And then we're also in like low tier spinner low. Like we're like kind of we're like a bulkier, slower team overall for the most part, with like Hitmonchan as our only spinner, which is just not good enough. Especially when we're like not really like immune to hazards and from any position besides Gliscor.
I do also want to mention though that a big thing with this team is that it only has 1 ground immune or resist. For that matter of fact, well, actually, sorry, yes, got to resist, but you're not. You're not switching that mono. Yeah, you're not switching that mono to ground.
Yeah. Meowscarada is a resist, but is it really like it's dying to pretty much anything, any coverage move? Pecharunt, and the problem is also we're also weak too. So like with Jolteon needs to move, but let's say Jolteon stays, Jirachi, Jolteon, Pecharunt are all getting hit by it. God forbid, I don't know what his Terra types are on Necrozma, but God forbid you tear into a matchup where you're neutral or even weak to ground for some reason, and then like what are we doing? Like I don't know. Jolteon needs to move. I think that the top part of the team is fine, especially if you're a Necrozma fan, but I don't know. I'm not a huge Alomola guy in general. I know Kyrogenis is a huge Alomola guy, but I don't know. I don't love this team. I was lower on it than you guys were, for sure.
The core of like Alomola Florges, obviously don't go double-ish, but like I'll just point that out. But Alomola able to check like most physical things, and then Florges able to check like most special things, I think is like really nice. And on top of that, they have support from like Gliscor, who's flexible, that can do both.
Yeah. So here's my question on that. Right? Is that Alomola and Florges? There's only 6 spots on a team, right? So if you want that defensive core, then you're dropping like one of your top guys, and then if you want to say, okay, well then I want my physical defensive guy, I want my Pecharunt to be physically defensive, then like what is Alomola doing that you'd want both Alomola and Pecharunt on your team at the same time? They're both kind of defensively walling not the same things. They're different typings, but they're both your big defensive guys. And then you have Florges as your special defense guy.
And then on top of that, if we're playing this like slow, bulky wall game, we probably also need to fit our spinner onto that. And our spinner is Hitmonchan. And that is taking up another slot.
In this world, we're Hitmonchan because we need to play a longer game. We're Florges and we're Pecharunt or Alomola. So 3 of our spots are being taken by our not top 4 Pokemon. You're going to have your Terra on there, so Terra Necrozma, and then is Jirachi sitting week to week? Is Gliscor? I mean, Meowscarada is coming every week. So like, it just doesn't. I find it hard to make a 6 stack that works consistently.
Yeah.
Our low tiers
IMO,
don't fit the bill of what we need.
I'd say IMO. Honestly, I don't know if it's still up or not. I didn't take.
I'll check right now. What is
a
it?
look. I think Latios could look really good on the squad in the Jirachi slot.
Latias is not up. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
Latias is on
damn.
a different team.
If we were to like get
Higher
rid of
list.
Mola Mola and then take like Latios, I think it would look really good. But
Well, we've been rambling on for this team for,
Yeah,
for a
yeah, we
while
should-
now.
also,
so we
also
can-
get
we can
a
move
get a
on.
different spinner, please.
Yeah, please.
Yes,
get a
please, different spinner. Yes.
Number
Yes,
7,
absolutely.
we have the one and only the Chefs. This team, we all agreed is pretty consistently solid. Fantastic Terra captains. They don't really want to like Terra in the same weeks. You're honestly fine Terraing Superior
Either one.
in most of your weeks, but also Terraing Tornadus only when it's good, which is nice to have.
It's nice to have the threat like to match up fish and
Yeah,
have the threat
yeah,
of
for sure.
if it's like great.
This team's hazard game, fantastic, excellent at getting up hazards, not particularly great at removing them. But between Glamora and Quable, there's usually some way.
Some combination of at least getting them off one time.
Yeah,
And then like
not consistently, but for sure at least once.
yeah.
Garchomp is a great glue guy here.
Shout out to
so-
Garchomp on this team. I think Garchomp is like carrying the weight of gluing this whole team together. It can do a lot of different things, and I think it's not forced to do one thing on this team, which is where I think Garchomp is best.
Yeah, this is a really good, really well built Garchomp team. A couple issues. Our top speed tier, Ambipom, is a little fake, just because it's Ambipom. But I mean the Mon is still solid. Poltegeist without Terra is atrocious. I think that guy should go
that's gotta go.
immediately.
Yeah, that's gotta go. Yeah.
Also, unless it's like a big electric week for Thundurus, we're a bit weak on the special side. Superior is really doing a lot of the lifting there. But overall, this team is pretty solid, has great hazard game, sets up for mons like Quable and Garchomp really well, I think.
Yeah, shout out Tinkaton.
Yeah, shout out
that mon is
Tinkaton.
so good, and it's every season. It's always good. I mean, it doesn't do anything flashy,
Yeah.
but it is a true 9 to 5 enjoyer. It gets its job done every week, no matter what you need it to do. So, I mean, this guy, he just has so many like options for setting hazards and getting them down consistently. So, I definitely think it's a really good team. I wouldn't say it's a great team. I think it's got a kind of a low ceiling in its current state, but I think it's a well built, it's a good team.
Yeah.
That's why he's number 7.
Yeah, not a lot of notes on this one. I feel
Yeah.
like we can move on. We've said
Yeah.
pretty much all our thoughts on it.
Yeah, change your
Yep.
gesture, bro. Sorry.
Oh yeah, what was the gesture on that one? Was that the Hypno
It's
team?
drowsy,
Yeah,
bro.
Drowsy,
Oh,
Drowsy
get
needs to
out
go,
of
bro.
here, bro.
Drowsy
We
needs
gotta
to
get
go
out of here.
immediately.
All right, we don't even got to tell you why, bro. Just take that thing out, man.
That team, by the way, we forgot to mention it. This is our first B team that we had.
Oh yeah, that was our
Yeah.
first B tier placement.
So
So
yeah, continuing on with the B tier placements, we have number 6, Crafty Scrafties, featuring the Iron Bundle led team. This is a little out of date, but again, we're
this is kind of
mainly-
a last season team.
yeah. There's some great Terra Cat, or no, this is not great Terra Cat.
This is not the Great Terra Captain team. This is the,
Sorry.
This is the. I believe in our notes for this segment we have what is Gengar with Terra providing here for us. I just think that Gengar with Terra is not worth any cost. I don't even think Gengar is worth having on your team in general. Scrafty, I understand, is the mascot, so that's good. He's a good secondary. He's a good enough secondary Terra Captain if you love him, and I'm guessing you do. But our low tiers in general just don't really make any sense. Let's take Gengar out of it for a second. We're dealing with Galvantula, which Sticky Web is doing nothing for this team because the guys who are faster are way fast, like Tornadus and Bundle. And then like we have a bunch of slow guys like Gudra, Sui, and Donphan that are like not, and Scrafty, who are not like able to really take advantage of Sticky Webs, and we're not Terra on Galvantula, so we're not really like bringing anything with that pick. And then Decidueye with no Terra is similar. I think it's less offensive to me than Galvantula is, but
fan of that mon without Terra. I think it's fantastic with it, but it just doesn't really feel like it has much of role in teams unless you're looking for something super specific. I don't. Think
yeah.
this
So
is a team for that.
so here's my question for you. We're both in. I think all three of us are in agreement that Gengar shouldn't be Terra.
Agreed.
Maybe shouldn't be on the team. So if we did drop Gengar for something else, do you think it's good enough to have Scrafty and Decidueye? Drop Galvantula, drop Gengar,
No, I don't think.
Scrafty, Decidueye, or do you think we need to just drop Decidueye and look for a better Baron spot?
Yeah, I would
to-
look
to
for
take
a
that
better.
Terra.
I would look for a better Baron.
Yeah, better
Terra.
Baron for. I think with the way that Casey has evolved and to where we are now, Squire Terras aren't like as valuable anymore. And having like one of them, obviously, fine, especially if it's like really niche, helps your team out. Having two of them, yeah, I don't think that's the move, man.
Yeah, I agree. Unless it's one of the Terras that's like 4 or 5 points more and is very clearly like a higher tier Pokemon. Like if you're trying to make like a Thorns work, like an Iron Thorns with Terra, fishing for matchups, that's a good squire to Terra. But generally, like you said, we've kind of evolved past, and the way that like we've nerfed lower tier Terra in general and allowed more things to Terra, it's usually better to have a Terra that's a little bit stronger. Yeah, so I agree with that. I definitely agree with that sentiment.
This also, yeah, we could use a Monarch on the squad. Just as a last little note, Iron Bundle feels good in deep slot, but
not that we're bringing up week 2 changes, but I did see that there were some changes dropped, so this team is changing. So we won't talk too much more about it because it's not really existing in its current state. But I think the team as it was is fine. It just it wasn't great, and that's why it ranks right here at 6.
Yeah, but again, great speed tiers overall, pretty threatening. And solid role players with Donphan and Gudra Azui.
Yep.
All right. Stupid frickin' rats rounding out, coming in hot on the first slot on our top 5 here.
Yeah.
So some strong points for this team. I do think Terra Primarina is one of the best Terra captains in the format. So that's
we've said it a million times, but yeah, it's definitely one of the best ones in the format. Team is well built generally. I think it fills every niche or every part of a team that you need to build to make a successful team. The one thing that I'm worried about is I feel like Lando is kind of forced to bring rocks on this squad.
Yeah, it's him or
you don't really want to force your Lando to do that.
Fortress can.
Yeah, but Fortress isn't like a week-to-week mon, which
That's
is
true.
like he's not our only removal with Conkeldurr, but like
But it's our only dedicated removal.
It's our only dedicated removal, and it's not an every week mon, and if it is, that's probably indicative of something
of a team being flawed. Yeah. So like, in some weeks it's gonna be just Lando.
Yeah, like Lando is like those weeks where you can fit Fortress and you can get rocks and you're free to run a more offensive Lando. That's gonna be great. He's gonna really feel like one of the best ground types in the format, which he is. And don't get me wrong, he's still one of the best with those defensive sets, but it does put a bit of a hamper on his potential.
Yeah, it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like Garchomp, where the strength of the Pokemon as a premier ground type is its ability to be flexible. When you strip it of its ability to be flexible, it turns out to be way less. It's still good. It's still better than like a lower tier guy like Donphan or something, but it doesn't get to shine the way you want your Duke to shine, your Duke ground type to shine.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I don't think there's any major weaknesses with this team. Besides the Primarina, it doesn't feel super standoutish to me. But, I mean, again, I don't really have super big issues with this team. I don't know.
No, I think this team is it's good. It's not a premier team, but it's well built. It fills the spots it needs to, and a little bit of what we're talking about right now does feel like nitpicking. I mean, Lando is still going to be great either way. The team is well built. The speed tiers are good, pretty good, not amazing, but pretty good. We have some priority there and some cool stuff with. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So I was gonna say, like, these top 5 from here on out, I definitely think like I just want to also, before I say this, any team in the league can win KC.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say that before I continue, but I think these top 5, especially starting from here, like, are favored or likely to like win KC. Like, just looking at the overall strength of the team, you guys mentioned before, it checks like all the boxes, it's everything well. But not only that, like when I look at this team, like I get a little scared. Like I get like the feeling of like I don't want to play this team.
Yeah, like if you had to prep against this team, regardless of what your lineup was, you get that little like bit of nervousness, and that's like what you want as an as someone who's looking at your team. I will say the top 4 is when we're gonna go into our A+ or A to A+ tier. Those 4 to me and to all of us are really the front runners from week
like
1.
The cream of the crop. I think all 4 of us had all 4 of those top teams in not in the same order.
None of us put them lower than 4. Yeah, I believe.
But they were all our top 4. So they definitely feel like the cream of the crop. But this team is honestly right there with them, like you said.
Yeah. This team is like a half step below the top 4 to me.
Yeah.
But so let's move on. Let's move on to number 4.
Let's go right into the top 4, starting off with Cinccino's Casino, sporting a pretty familiar board that we've seen a lot with this Iron Hands and Gren. 1,
Yep.
2.
I think we've seen this in 3 different seasons. We've seen this one
we
too.
have seen this a lot.
Including I ran this last season.
It's
for
always
second
it's
place.
always been good. I mean, just
Yep.
great combo. They work well
and
together.
It's still good.
Yeah, it's spoilers. It hasn't gotten worse somehow.
Yeah. I really like this team. I'm a huge fan of Caesar. I think Mew with Terra is one of the better, one of the top 5 Terra captains. I love Blastoise in that spot, being a rapid spinner, also having the ability to do other things. Do you want to talk about some of the issues that we saw with this team?
Some of the struggles with this team start to come when you get lower on. My biggest issue with this team is honestly this Rhyperior. When you have a Terra captain like Mew, I know like utility Mew sets are great and stuff, but when you're paying such a high price, and honestly, to use Mew to its full potential, you're usually going to want to Terra it most weeks. Again, it's a bit of a Terra hog. So with that in mind, I really don't like our ground type being Rhyperior, because Rhyperior is the biggest Terra hog of all time. The Mon is pretty good with Terra, but without Terra, it's so bad and it's such a detrimental weakness to have on your team that it just doesn't really make sense to pair Rhyperior with a Terra captain that also wants to Terra so much. It just doesn't feel right.
It's 4. Yeah, I know you said it, but I just want to make sure it's said out loud. It's 4 points to Terra Mew. So you really, really want to be using that Mew Terra every single week, and that means Rhyperior, unfortunately, really doesn't need to exist on this. We need a ground type, but there's got to be. Surely we can find.
It feels
something
like
better
there's
than
a better
Rhyperior
option. In a similar vein, Shaman is like a little suspicious without Terra, but I think it's still pretty acceptable.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Even without Terra, throwing off Seed Flares is always going to be good, and you're always going to have a potential to break if you get the drops. But those are honestly, those 2 slots are my main concerns with this roster. It feels pretty well constructed overall. Blastoise,
the only
like
thing I'll say is it is just there's only one ground immune with hands. And the ground immune is Wheezing, and I again am someone who likes the flexibility. I don't like forcing a Mon like Wheezing that can have other useful abilities, like the neutralizing mist or whatever that ability is called. Have to take Levitate every week if you need to have that ground switch, in which every week I've played in KC, you need a ground immune. You're always going to have a threat of an earthquake out there. So that is one other point I want to bring. But the team, again, it's all kind of nitpicking. So I think it's a great team.
Yeah.
I think it's a great team.
Yeah, let me throw in one more nitpick here. So, outside of Mew as well, I mean, obviously he does have access to access to hazards and spikes from the Frost last year, but if he does actually end up getting rid of that Rhyperior, definitely make sure to look for something else that can bring rocks, as Mew's the only other rock setter.
Yeah.
If he goes any other ground type, it will have rocks. I'm pretty sure like every realistic ground type has rocks. So
it does need to be able to bring rocks.
Would fit pretty good. Maybe.
Would you say?
I think Mudsdale's rostered already.
It is rostered.
Oh yeah, yeah. But if Mudsdale frees up, it would be really. Mudsdale's much better without Terra.
Look for a similar in the Knight tier and in the Squire tier. There's a couple of them floating around, so
yeah,
could be
do some research. I'm sure there's something that could be better here. Mew's just too much of a Terra hog, and Rhyperior is also too much of a Terra hog for it to work.
Yeah, I just don't.
But a good team. I don't want to.
Yeah, like we said before, these are all fantastic teams.
Yep.
Coming in hot at our top 3, we have Mount Pyre Mythics.
And you're number 1 here.
My number 1. I think this roster is very well constructed. I think it is a little weighed down to an 0-2 start week 1, which was a little bit of a rough start. But again, I think this roster is fantastic. The Empoleon change is so good because it just supports. It's the defensive backbone that this top 3 desperately needs. What they don't need is help breaking. Because these 3 just goes well offensively so well. It's insanely threatening. It feels like it's an inevitability that one of them is going to win the game. And I'm a big Weavile fan. I know you're also a big Weavile fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge. I mean, it's on my team. I'm a huge Weavile fan.
Yeah,
it's the only Duke who can consistently outspeed a lot of the faster Monarchs. It's the only one that like really hits. To me, it's the only one that hits that speed tier with the right amount of power.
Yeah, and I kind of like Terra Diancie. I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I do too. I couldn't fit it on my team. I tried to work around getting it on there, but I do think it's really, really underrated. I don't think anyone really talks about it. And if it's able to get out of its typing, which honestly, any Pokemon that gets out of its rock typing is good for it, even if it just goes to just fairy type, I think it is pretty good.
Yeah, there are some
and Latios,
concerns.
I'm a huge Latios guy
yeah,
too, and
Latios
Tusk is Father
It's
Tusk.
Tusk,
So
yeah.
yeah.
There are some
the only
concerns.
thing I will say, go ahead. Yeah, you bring it up.
Empoleon Moltres. I've used this core. It's great. They both share an electric weakness though, and that's a pretty bad thing to have in your defensive
Yeah, if you're into
core.
that Thunderous team.
Yeah, you do have one of the best ground types, and you have a Latios, which are both great electric switch-ins. But as your defensive backbone, it can be rough to share such a common weakness like that. The only other thing I'll say about this team is that Electrode Hisui, its main draw point is that it's going to be faster than all the other like S tier
It's Weavile Light.
monarchs. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Weavile Light. That's kind of the main point I'm getting at. Its main draw is that it's faster than stuff like Meowscarada and Gren. But Weavile already kind of does that. That's part of Weavile's appeal, is that it's faster than those top speed monarchs, and it threatens them. So I feel like those two kind of step on each other's toes a little bit. It's also a lot of points to Terra, so maybe that could free up some other things on your roster.
Yeah, maybe
like
we
the
can get a
Sableye
better
slot.
ghost type than
Yeah.
Sableye, and then pick something that's not Terra Electrode,
I
because
kind of like having the Prankster just like in the
Yeah.
back as like a
I mean,
anti-sweeper.
it's
Yeah,
alright. I feel like there's more consistent use cases, though.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a
Yeah.
Prankstermon that's more in the mid-range of Squire that we could look at. That's not. I mean, Sableye is just a pretty atrociously weak Pokemon as far as just stat distribution. That's why it's only 1 point or 2 points, whatever it ended up being. So I'm not saying there's a better Prankster guy out there or they're better Mon in general, but I do think that Electrode spot doesn't need to be there, and that could open up more opportunity to upgrade at a
Yeah,
different
it
slot.
is pretty expensive. I think it's like 4 points to Terra.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4.
But,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in this roster. So
Yeah, it's very good.
coming in hot, we have the Oklahoma Okie Dojis, the one and only. Coming on from the upper division last season, demoting down, but I think we can all agree he's off to a fantastic start. This roster is pretty well built overall. You know, coming in most experienced player in this league, so he 2-0'd pretty dominantly, honestly. So yeah, like we said, taking player into consideration slightly, this team had to be pretty high on.
Yeah, I mean the team is, for what it's worth, we're not putting all the onus on the
this
the
team is
player as
also
well. The
just-
team is
just
also
well
very
built.
well built.
Yeah.
And something I wanted to bring up that I've been kind of high on this season that I was thinking about building was this Hawlucha Rillaboom core. I think that if you cut out the Sneasler and you don't use both your Duke spots on the unburdened core, I think Hawlucha is actually, especially with the access to Terra, is actually better than the Sneasler with the Rillaboom slot.
I agree.
And I'm a huge Lando guy. The Lando standing up. Huge Lando standing up guy, and Terapagos is on my team. So I think the team is well built. I think the 2 Terra captains are great. I think the core is there, and it's also the most experienced player in the league. I think if I was putting my money on it, he would be the one I'd put my money on to go to the back up to the other league after this season.
I also do want to mention that obviously the whole team is constructed really well, but I think this guy has some of the best squires in the whole league. Yeah.
Mr.
Even
Craw.
ring, here comes Mr. Craw. Dude, this mod is shice, man, and I'm actually so happy he's finally getting some love.
Yeah, as
They look
much
great
as
on
people
this
meme
team,
it, it's actually good. Like people meme in the Gen chat and say like, "Oh, Mr. Craw,
Pick up
Mr.
the
Craw."
phone,
Like,
man. Pick
it's
up the
good.
phone.
it's a good mon, especially in Squire low. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, for the
Yeah,
points it's
really
at,
good.
it can cause some havoc. Last thing I'll say about this team, this has like bar none the best hazard control in this league. Between Terapagos and Hat, it feels like it's super hard to like make sure hazards stay up against this team. It also gets them up super consistently between Heatran, Lando, and Terapagos. This team's hazard control is great. It even has multiple forms of removal, so big fan of that.
Yep. And
All
it's
right.
2 across the board, pretty much. So this is our pretty much consensus second best team in the league.
Yeah, but our number one team,
Not the best.
not the best, the one, the only, Pacificlog. I'll be honest, I don't know.
Pacificlog?
Pacificlog.
Is that how you
Isn't
say
that a
it?
town? Is that a town in
Yes,
one of the
down
Pokemon
in
games?
Gen 3.
The
Gen 3.
Polyraths.
Yeah.
the
Woo!
Polyrath.
Yeah, the Polyrath. Woo!
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
1-2-1-1 across the board. Pretty unanimously
I'm just
agreed
a
to
big
be
hater on this team, man.
a big hater. Yeah, my bad. I clearly I think this team could never work all the way down at 2. But since you're just such a big fan of it, why don't you take away?
For my money's worth, I think this is the best team in both leagues. Just as far as it is a lower power level, so I don't think that this team is as good as like Vaughn's team from last season. For people who know that, like that team was really, really good. But this team for this season is the best one in both the leagues. I think it does have a few nitpicks that you can make, and I'm sure Mr. Hater down at number 2 is gonna call them out. But I do think, I mean, it has a premier Terra captain in Hydrapple. Muck is my favorite low point guy in the league. I mean, he's just the coolest guy of all time. He's got Wellspring, Goldango, Ting Lu, who's absolutely a beast. Clefable, who's a very flexible mon with a lot of different options to do. He's got good enough spinning capability with Regieleki if that's what you really are looking for it to do. My only thing is I just think Flygon, especially out Terra, is just not a very good Pokemon. But overall, as far as roster construction, I think this is the best team in the league. Overall, like I said, the only two things I would say is Flygon's kind of fake, and our speed tiers are not great, maxing out at 110 with Ogerpon Wellspring, if you consider Regieleki to be fake, which I kind of do as far as actually threatening damage, especially because it can't Terra. But Arcanine gets extreme speed, which is nice, and you can bring Scarf on Goldango and do some interesting things to make up for that speed tier difference.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Regieleki is like he's decent at getting the spin, just because you need to bring your ground type into him, right? As far as speed tiers go, like you said, it is a bit of a fake speed tier because it's just not really reliable, and I don't super like it as a dedicated spinner because it's just hard to make work outside of that, in my opinion. And like you said, Flygon without Terra, I just don't see a point in this one existing.
Yeah, the 100 speed tier isn't even real because like what are you bringing Flygon to do? You don't even really need the ground immune. So I mean, I guess this team doesn't have a ground immune actually.
Yeah, I mean,
which is, I mean, you have Air Balloon can go on Goldango.
It's definitely a bit of a
interesting.
Flaw,
so maybe there's some sort of flying guy. Like maybe I'm trying to think.
Know.
I can't.
I think
Arcanine.
Arcanine could move for a flying immunity. Is where I would look. And definitely
what
get off
at,
Flygon too.
Like maybe Staraptor or something. Like that's a mon that I think is a pretty decent Terra captain as well. Maybe that's something you could look at. It's got 110 speed, I think, as well. So maybe 100 speed.
The priority from Arcanine, so something like Staraptor, suggesting that with like stab quick attack could actually be pretty useful.
I think you could get the priority like elsewhere with like that Flygon slot maybe.
The Flygon slot could be like Pawmod or something if you wanted the priority, or and that gives you 105 speed. Like, it's all nitpicking. It's still very well built. It's my favorite style to play because it's like bulky offense, and that's, even though it's not always the best thing to play, it's my favorite style of play. So it's definitely a team that's after my heart for sure.
Yeah.
If I had to play this team, bro. I know I spent 5 hours in the builder, bro. That's all I do.
Yeah, 5 hours in the builder, 5 hours in prep, back to 5 hours in the builder again. Ready for your matchup.
Exactly, man. Full-time job playing against this team, bro.
Yep.
Well, that
just cool little guy too. Murkrow's a cool guy.
Shout out Murkrow. That just about wraps our thoughts up here. Gone through all the teams today, and pretty great start for the most part. Like we said, I do think teams are a little weaker, but for the most part, I do think they're pretty cohesive compared to last season. So
yeah, even the new faces have done overall, everyone who's been new to the league has done a good job at building their team. And also, I've seen a lot of people reach out for help, especially with our format, because our format's not something if you come from a different league, you don't know exactly how our format works. And people have reached out, and we've been able to like get some help, and other people have helped the community. It's been good. So I think the teams are well built this season. If you go one more slide, you should be able to see all of our rankings together for what it's worth. And that we can drop as well. But we did 4 panels, tiered them by how we thought, wrapped it all up into a nice little doc chart here. But yeah, no, I think it's great. I think the season has been really good so far.
Yeah. So that's gonna be all from us. Thank you very much if you've watched this far. And yeah, good luck in all your games in the upcoming weeks. Bye.
Drop a like.
Drop a like. Yeah.